Thank you. I promise this will be short. This is meant to be, I was told 5 to 8 minutes and no more, so I shall stick to it. I think my task was the easy one because it was about something that, I have been very fortunate associated with Winpe since pretty much the day one it started and since the day one the idea was conceived. And I think the idea was very straightforward. I think Nupur and Winpe had this question of, all you guys in investment firms talk about capital, returns, investments made. How do you think about building the next generation of women leaders in investing? And that was honestly the real question that Nupur and the team asked. And I think the advisory board came up with this wonderful idea of starting a very formal mentorship program, which is called the Winpe Mentorship Program. And I think it was a great idea. And I'll chat a little bit about, and my objective over the next few minutes is to share really just reflections and observations about the program and basically how it has been for me as a person for the last now almost 6 years. I think 2021. I think COVID was the first year when they started the program, and what the journey has been for me on the other side, as a part of the program. For me, first of all, look, it's been a very energizing experience. And I keep telling this to Nupur that, every year at the end of the program, they formally ask, saying, do you want to continue to be a part of the program? And I'm like, please don't ask. You can just sign me up for life. Because I genuinely find this a very exhilarating and a very energizing program. And as I was forced to think and reflect on why, I would say there were 3 observations. This has come, thanks to the good fortune of interacting with, 6 incredibly open, ambitious, determined women, who've been my mentees over the last 6 years. And so these observations are really from all the experience I've had, talking to them in that journey. I think the first thing that struck me is the level of intensity, ambition, and clarity of purpose. And what I mean by that is, it's not a naive ambition. It's not like saying, I want to be successful. I think it is coming from a place of very good deal of self-awareness, a very strong sense of confidence, and it's very authentic. And therefore, one of the things I've noticed about women who sign up for the mentorship program is they're not looking for shortcuts. There's a genuine desire to just become much better. And all the conversation is from a position of strength. Saying, how do I sharpen myself? What do I need to do? What are the actions that I can take? And what can I work on? And it's coming from a very authentic place, very strong sense of self-confidence. And that to me is actually very inspiring, because the first thing if we want more leaders is people who are authentic, people who are confident, and people who are really thinking of this program as something that will help them get better, as opposed to almost anything else. The second interesting thing is it's a very small sample set, but from what I hear from Tina, is it's true for the full group as well. It's a very diverse set of people. And what I mean by that is I've had a chance to interact with, of course, women investors who are women, founders, in the sense women investors who are starting their own funds, starting their own firms, or trying to decide and join partnerships to make up their mind on whether they should not, how they should think about life. And women in portfolio services, people who are actually working with founders, working with the team, working with with the partnership on important things for the organization. So the journeys were so diverse, and therefore the conversation with them, while for them it may be, okay, this is what I'm doing. For me, on the other side, it's very interesting because they're very different. The conversations are very different. Some want to discuss investing, some are thinking about career navigation, some of them are thinking about organization dynamics, some of them are thinking about, hey, if my set of partners are really thinking about institutionalizing a partnership for the long term, if I have a seat at the table as an advisor, as a person with portfolio services experience, what is the advice I should give them? So very interesting, and therefore, to me, that has been a big source of value, but that's been a very striking observation. I did not expect that. You're expecting very straight-jacketed, somebody who's in an investing role on a track and just asking questions related to that. But that has been the second. I think the third for me personally has been, and this is always my hope in any of this program, is most of those relationships, if not all, have endured. they have not started with the program and stopped at the end of the program. And I think they've continued. And I think that is just because I think Winpe makes so much effort to be a platform and try to keep the individuals engaged, which kind of gives them the self-confidence to stay engaged with you over a much longer period of time. So therefore, the relationships end up being genuine, long-term professional relationships versus, a transactional relationship that lasts from the start and stop of the program. For those of you who have not participated in the program, I can tell you there are enough nudges, checks, balances in the system that make sure that if you sign up for it, you do a jolly good job of it. So that has been the joy. So these are three things, at least in my observations, around the nature of people, the diversity, the clarity, and the level of ambition. And third is, of course, just the fact that the relationships have endured beyond the 1 year you sign up for. But for me, I thought I can't end this observation sharing without telling me what it has done for me. Because I think I have benefited hugely. I would say maybe even more than in this program, than maybe even than some of my mentees over the last 6 years. I think first is, it is so hard as a man to put yourself in the shoes of a woman that you actually have no perspective. And I think, therefore, you have a much deeper appreciation of the challenges, the lived experience of the professionals, and also you try to find a language to articulate the challenges. And I think that's true for any organization. You're in a relatively progressive organization with a reasonable set of exposure, but it is still very hard to truly understand. And therefore, one of my, I wouldn't even call it advice, but just suggestions is you have to articulate the experience. And you may have to do it as individuals, you may have to do it as groups, you may have to do it in multiple forums in the organization, because even for men who may be committed to the cause, their true understanding is actually limited because that's not the lived experience. So that's first. To me, that was one. And that's been a big eye-opener for me. And it opens my eyes when I talk to my spouse who's a working professional. It will open my eyes as I think about my daughter. And it's a very different experience. And you don't start from the same place, and therefore you have a better appreciation for reality. Second thing, which is not what I signed up for, but it is great, is I actually now have a much richer understanding of how different firms operate. Right? And not in the sense of, gossip, but in the sense of, and because, some of them are from small venture firms, some of them are, sector-focused funds, some of them are emerging managers, some of them are scaled institutions. And I learn a lot because we learn about how they think about team building, how teams are organized, how the organizations work, and reflections on investment process, mistakes made, things done well. And it's really broadened my mental map of the industry, which I absolutely don't expect. So anybody who wants to sign up as a mentor, I would hugely advise that you should, because it's an absolutely meaningful benefit, because you will just learn more about the industry. Otherwise, the problem with all of us is you're just doing your own thing and you're in your own small little world with your own small little articulated strategy of what you're doing, that you genuinely, if you're curious about what's happening in a biotech space in India, or somebody setting up a seed fund in AI, now you may never invest in them, but it is such a better way to build perspective because it's much more deeper, the conversations are richer, versus just short one-on-ones and small polite conversation. And third, therefore, I can tell you after every conversation, and I'm not joking, with every mentee over the last 6 years, there's been something that one good idea for me on how we can improve our firm. And sometimes it's about organization design. Sometimes it could be something as mundane as updating your policy manual. And the nuggets keep accumulating. And I genuinely think that me and my partners have had the chance to improve how we work, as A91 because of the program. So those are my reflections for myself. And so thank you, Winpe, for the opportunity. First, to be a mentor, and second is to get a chance to share the experience. But it has been a terrific journey, and I've really enjoyed every bit of it. And I really hope the mentees have benefited, and I really hope that Nupur and Tina continue to keep me on the program. Thank you.